Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about adding video content to your website. So before we actually get into doing the demonstration, which is actually really simple, I want to just go ahead and describe a few things to you about adding video to websites. So we'll have a look at a little bit of information here briefly before we get into our demonstration. So adding video into HTML5 is actually very similar to adding audio. In the last video, we looked at adding audio. We just use the video element in place of the audio element, and we have a lot of attributes here that we can utilize. Source, autoplay, controls, loop, and preload. And our source is, again, where our video is located. Autoplay, controls, loop, and preload are all Boolean attributes, so we can include those into our video, and they can either have them or not have them by default. As we kind of mentioned briefly in our last video in regard to audio, one of the things that we don't really want to do is autoplay things. We kind of want to give our user the ability to control whether or not they decide that they're going to play a certain element. So autoplay we can kind of take and throw out the window. But that means controls are good for most cases. The only case in which you really wouldn't want controls would be if you were using video as like a background element for another site, or something of that nature. Otherwise, you pretty much always want controls, and for our purposes, we're pretty much going to do everything with controls. I'd also like to just talk really briefly about the difference between audio and video here. And one of the big things is that, when we're examining an audio element, if the Boolean attribute of controls isn't set, then the audio clip isn't displayed. And we kind of saw that in our last video. But with videos, if the Boolean attribute is not specified, the video will still display. It'll still be there. It goes back to that whole instance of, well, what if we want to use a video background? You don't really want controls on a video background, naturally. But it'd be kind of hard to watch the video or actually see the video do something unless you had the autoplay feature enabled at that point in time. So if you want something where you're not going to utilize the controls, if you're going to do it as some kind of background or as some kind of design element, then you are also going to want to make sure that you include the autoplay Boolean and the loop Boolean. So in general, the best practice here is to include the controls Boolean attribute unless there's a good reason not to allow users to start, stop, or replay the video. And for most of our instances, as we're kind of examining things, there really isn't much of a purpose for that. So we'll head on over to our code pen now, to where we can do a bit of an example. And so a video tag is not a self-closing tag. It's not a contained, it's not a self-contained tag. So there is a pair tag to our video tag. So we'll need a video and a video. And at bare minimum, we need a source attribute. So we'll add a source attribute, and we'll set that equal to the link. And I have a video already in my Cloudinary, and I've gone over there and I've copied the link file. So now when we save that, we see that it's enormous because it's a high resolution video. But we can use CSS to resize our videos for us. So if we Got into our CSS, changed the width element to maybe be a width of 800 pixels. Just like that, it brings our video into something that is manageable. That's an ultra high resolution video by default. So it's going to take up a ton of the screen. Now, you can see here that my video is there, but what's not there is any controls or anything else for me to utilize this video. Now, if I wanted to use this video as some kind of background, I could use some fancy code, but as you can see, it's not playing by default. If I wanted to add my autoplay Boolean here and save that, then you can see that it starts to autoplay by default. So even though I don't have controls, and my network's a little slow right now, so it's trying to load all of this video at once, probably not the best thing. But, if we're not going to use controls, we do want to use autoplay. But for most of our purposes, we're going to want to use controls. So we can just add our controls Boolean. And now you can see our controls appear. It also gives us the time of our video. It gives us the load of our video. And we can use that just like you'd use a player on YouTube or anything else that you'd use. So I can just press this play button and it starts to play and go through. And you can see also by default we have a volume here. This video doesn't have any sound to it. It's just it's meant to be like a stock video for like other projects, so it doesn't have any sound to it. But you can make it full screen if you were wanting to do that, or you could download it, which is all pretty cool. Another thing we could add here is our preload Boolean, and that will have it preload the video before it shows up on the screen. And you saw the little indicator there of the preload as it was loading it before it rendered it on the screen. And so it's going to preload the whole video before it really gives it to us. And then another thing is loop. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take the controls off, change that to autoplay, leave preload and leave loop, just so it gives us a different view at it. And I'm just going to kind of let this video loop here on our display as I kind of talk our way out. It's a 19-second long video, so we should see it loop over a time or two while I'm kind of wrapping up here. So as you can kind of see here, adding video to our website is a whole lot easier than it seems. Like you see a video on a website, and especially if it's not embedded from YouTube, you think, wow, that looks like it was probably really difficult to do. But it's actually really simple to do. And we've seen that now through our practice here with adding video through HTML. HTML5 has made it incredibly simple. So hopefully you're able to take this and you're able to use it to add video into your websites that you have hosted. So that's all that I have for this video, and as you've seen, it's kind of looped through a couple times already, so that loop is working just fine. That's all that I have for you for this video. Thank you for watching.